It's the J Bass Today Show. Get ready for a good time, a good time. It's the J Bass Today Show. Get ready to ride.
Season's greetings. God bless you to each of you, and welcome to the J Bass Today Show. I am so excited to be here to share this episode with you. It is an episode that is somewhat near and dear to my heart. I tried my best to put together a panel, reached out to different ones, and it just didn't pan out. And so today I will be sharing my thoughts on Pride Month. This is the last J Bass Today show in June, which has been labeled Pride Month. It is also my birthday month. And so, of course, I'll take the first weeks and really just thank God for another year. But this year, just knowing that it's Pride Month and hearing that I'm not asked to come out into the community to share things and talk about my story, but I do have a story, and it does somewhat relate to Pride Month. But I wanted to find out, what is Pride Month about? What is this all about? Because of course, growing up in the church and all of the experiences that I've had surrounding homosexuality or being same gender loving, it has not been a great experience, and it's not something that I would think anyone would want to have pride in. And so I just did a quick Google search into what is it that others have said as to why they are celebrating Pride Month. And here are some of the responses that I received. First is to recognize the impact that that LGBTQ individuals have had on history locally, nationally, and internationally, to uplift and celebrate their freedom to live authentically. And it honors those who were part of the most important gay rights protest, and is a reminder that pride can still fight for our rights. What inspired me to do this show, I don't talk about being homosexual or gay or any of that kind of stuff often, because it just in our society is a taboo subject. But I'm learning in just the life of J Bass that some of these things that are taboo are part of life. You know, there are things that happen in life that are real and that are true, that are part of the human experience. And so what inspired this is I'd been watching We're Here. I loved RuPaul's Drag Race, and just seeing the process that they go through, the challenges and things. Since they moved, I think from Hulu or whatever free site that I had, or maybe not free, but what I had a subscription to, they moved to something else, and so I have not followed it in the past few seasons. But I started out with it, and just kind of started understanding a little bit more about drag and how it is that guys decide to do that. And so I'm watching a show called We're Here on HBO Max, which is somewhat some of the drag queens that were on RuPaul's Drag Race started this episode, and it was to go into cities and towns where those who may be struggling with their sexuality and struggling with acceptance can come on and be mentored and encouraged by one of the drag queens, and most of them end up in drag and doing a show. And I've always thought, this would be something I would be interested in. I do have an alter ego that would be a drag personality. Just haven't really manifested. I've tried it out before for Halloween, but anyway, moving on. The thing that really gets me about this is I've heard so many different things, and on we're here there in Oklahoma, and it was so much hatred, but the hatred was coming from people who say that they're Christian, who believe in Christ, but they have taken very, very seriously to hating those who have uh, an attraction to the same sex. And I've said this before, but if you don't understand how it feels to have that attraction, my thought is, if you know, I've seen guys hoot and holler at females that are walking that may have a Coke bottle shape, have ample breast or a nice voluptuous butt, and I see them hoot and holler at her, and you know, share how they feel when they see her. And it is, to me, the same thing as a male who sees another male that is attractive to me. And the thing is, just with those same guys, not everyone is attractive to you. And I think that's something big to understand. And not all of us are just out sleeping around. And I definitely want to dispel quickly the thought that that every homosexual is a pedophile or wants someone that's underage. There are some of us who are interested in quote unquote daddies. We are attracted to men who are older than us. And as far as I can remember back, there were some peers that I thought were attractive, but I just wasn't interested in them like I was in those who were older. And I'm just sharing from a personal perspective. This is my opinion. I wanted to have, again, the panel to get others insight in on this. And so I'm just sharing with you the experience that I've had as Jay Bass. And I'm going to end talking about this experience as it relates to the church, but I want to kind of get some of the other things out first. And again, there are, even in heterosexuality, there are pedophiles who like underage children. And while I don't get it, I do understand that there are people in the earth who like that and who have that affinity or attraction. I don't understand it. And so in that respect, one of the things about life is really being able to accept also those who lump people into one certain group, as if everybody who is Black thinks this way, everyone who is white thinks this way, everyone who is heterosexual thinks this way, everyone who is homosexual thinks this way. And that is just not the truth. Each of us was raised in different atmospheres. We all have different attractions. And so, that is something that I just thought was very important to dispel right away, because it's just, for me, it is frustrating. And I understand, to others, it may be frustrating to see others. When it comes to homosexuality, I know that there are those who are, what do you call it, flamboyant, who are women who represent as studs, or they are manly, they have a masculine aura and features and energy that they portray. And then there are also guys who portray feminine energy, and you can see it, you can look at them, and you can tell by their mannerisms that they most likely enjoy the company of someone who is same sex. But the same thing is true for that. Someone could be flamboyant and not even have an attraction to the same sex. I don't, it's very few and far between, but that can be the case. And for some of us, which is something I was getting to earlier, even though we may have that attraction, and may have acted on it in our past, we've learned from that and realizing I've never been a person who just wanted to sleep around. I found myself just doing it out of the lack of self-love, the self-hatred that I had, and low self-esteem, dealing with those things, just feeling like I had to do these things. I went out and I did so many things I had no business. And so for years now, I've been without. I know that there are some guys who may be attracted, but thankfully, I'm just not interested in them in a sexual way. There are guys that I see now, and one of the things, some of the things as it relates to church, what I'm loving about sharing my story and hearing the story of others is I'm finding out that I'm not alone. There are so many guys, and so, okay, let me just say it and then I'll go into this. There are so many guys who were raised in the church who prayed, God, take this away from me. I'm hearing your word. I'm hearing what the preacher is saying. I'm seeing the hatred, I'm hearing the hatred coming from those I'm going to church with, about those that they know who are homosexual, or that they believe are homosexual. They don't know what they're doing in their bedroom, but they believe that they're homosexual, and so that they are saying these kind of things. They're doing all these kind of things. You hear about people being beat up and all kinds of. I've been assaulted as a direct result, and so you go through these things, and so especially for those of us in the church who have cried out, and I'm sure there are so many more who haven't shared their stories. That I may know. And I've invited so many people to share in this. And as you see, I'm the only one here today. But I know there are those who are willing to share. And so, maybe my sharing in the J Bass Today show will open the door for me to have this opportunity to share with others in future times. But I'm here sharing again, just from my own experience. And it is absolutely a test of your faith, because you believe and you're raised in church and you hear God can do anything. He is a deliverer. He can wipe your slate clean and all these wonderful things. And then as a child, as a teenager, and as a young adult, you're praying, God, take this away from me. You're crying out at the altar. I see I feel what I'm feeling. I see in your word what your word says in certain places about a man lying with a man as a woman and those kind of things. Father, take this away from me. I don't want to deal with this, all of the extra baggage that comes along with it, because the truth of the matter is, and I don't, that's one of the reasons why I struggled with pride, is because how is this something to be prideful about when there's so much hatred that surrounds it? There's so much that goes into people having to just battle with, and the mental things that you go through, and finding your own acceptance of who you are. It's not even the acceptance of others. Yeah, as we grow up, we see others, we're subjected to their opinions. And as you grow older, you start realizing you have to come into your own and start learning who you are. But that's every human being. As you are a child, what you see is other human beings. You're hearing what they say and you're seeing what they do. And so you're subjected to their opinions and what they think. And so when you start hearing these things as a young person, your thoughts are, okay, well, then I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And life happens, life happens. And so it really is, it becomes a test of faith. Okay, I'm believing in this God who can do anything, who is supposed to be able to deliver and all of these kind of things, and to make what's wrong right. And I'm at the altar and I'm crying out to him in sincerity, because I don't want to deal with this. But what I realize is my flesh keeps longing for it. When I see the male anatomy, and especially when it's looking like what I'm attracted to, when I see another male who looks like what I'm attracted to, well, then something in me lusts, wants that, wants to touch, wants to hold, wants to be touched, wants to be held, all of those kinds of things. And I'm crying out for help. I've even quote unquote embarrassed myself multiple times in church growing up about being delivered. I want to be delivered. I want to be set free from this. And then I leave and I'm still subject to the fact that and because of the misconception. And when I realized now it was a personal misconception, I'm thinking, okay, if I go up and ask God to deliver me and the saints lay hands on me and pray for me, well, then the attraction, the desire will be gone. Well, then I leave and I'm not doing anything. But what I'm seeing is I see another guy that turns me on and makes me think, oh man, what would it be like, And I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. Well, God, I've been to the altar. I've prayed about this. Why am I still, why did seeing him make me feel like this? Why was I attracted to him? I'm delivered. What's going on? People talk about the young man, and he's a joke. I feel like it's a whole joke. I feel like he's really living his life, but due to whatever mental things he has going on, that he's become this center stage for something that makes this a joke. But there are those of us who really have cried out for deliverance and wanted deliverance. And what we've had, or let me say, what I had to accept. What I had to accept was the same thing that Paul says in his letter. I forget exactly which scripture. I didn't look this up coming into this, but I do know that I sought the Lord 3 times, thrice I sought him to take this thorn away from me. And what he said is, my grace is sufficient for you. So all I can believe, all that helps me get up and continue to move forward with the life of Jay Bass in this season of life, is to believe. And that's why it's so important for me to release Your Grace and Mercy in a season like this, is because I see his grace. I see his mercy. He's continuing to keep. He's continuing to bless. In spite of all that I've done, in spite of all that I'm going through, he has blessed me with his grace. And his grace has afforded me the opportunity now to have been without for such a long time. That I'm not the young me who was, okay, well, since I want it, I'm going to go out and try to find it, even if it means just a one-night stand, even if it means finding somebody out on the streets who is just wants $1 or something, or just wants to sleep around, that I can go out and do that. And then I hated myself because I would do those things. But again, because of self-hatred and longing to be loved because you can't love yourself, I was out there doing it. And is it something I'm proud of? No, but that's part of my testimony. It's part of my life story. And what it does now is give me strength and fortitude not to do it, because I remember how I felt when I was giving myself away like that, and that was not me then, nor is it me now. And so what I realize is there are levels to your deliverance. when it comes to homosexuality and anything that we do, because there are heterosexuals that have all kinds of sins as well and issues that they're striving to get past. There are certain things that we do that we just don't have to do. There are things that we do that we do not have to do. It's one thing to think about it. And there are thoughts and things that and ways that we think that are sinful as well. So, I may not have touched, but I'm sitting here lusting and thinking about what it would be like to be held, to be touched, to penetrate or to be penetrated, or to taste or to be tasted by. Real human stuff. This is because I'm not going to get on here and try to. I'm still dumbing it down, but I'm not. Okay, all of these things that go into the human experience, and the thoughts are there at times, but I don't have to act on them. And so, thankfully, thank God for the strength and just having a mind that I'm not willing at this point just to accept anything. But everybody is not there. And so, one of the things that living with this and having to go through my own journey, and I have not attained, I'm not all that, I don't have all the answers. I'm just sharing my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings about this in this moment of where I am now. It may change as I get older, but this is where I've grown to at 42. And so to hear other stories and know that I'm not alone in a lot of this has also helped to make me aware that there are many who struggle to come into accepting themselves. This is a journey. It's a process. And even in what I'm believing is deliverance, that it is a process. There are those of us who long to be in a wonderful, thriving, same gender loving relationship. I would love to find another guy that feels the same way I feel, who has had to go through this process himself and is physically, mentally, and spiritually what I would be able to accept and who would be able to accept me. And I've found that it's hard for guys to accept me, but it's also equally hard for me to accept others. And so I realized that's going to be if that ever happened, if you ever hear of J-Bass finding somebody or somebody finding me, it was very serious because, and I have to say this too, I feel like I ruined multiple young ladies' lives because I'm struggling with the fact that I'm attracted to the same gender, but I also know that society expects me to be with a young woman. And so I'm talking to these young ladies, I'm dating them. Some of them I even had sex with, hoping that if we have sex, that will make me want a woman. And even after all of that, and I know there are heterosexual guys who are just like, you got it, and you still, it's nothing I can explain. It's just what I know to be what it is in my life. And I feel like I know that there are so many others with that same feeling, that same testimony. And what I've said about my life is that once I'm dead and gone, these videos will remain. It will remain as a testament that, yes, I love God. I know I have been chosen by him. I know I have been sanctified, which is set apart by him. Because just the fact that I'm not into secular music, I've just always been drawn to gospel music. I've always been drawn to the church. I've always been drawn to the things of God. I truly and wholeheartedly believe in prayer. I believe in it. I was just at the altar crying out yesterday. even with all of my wrong, I repent. I ask for forgiveness. I believe in God and what he is able to do in the lives of those who submit and believe in him. I believe God. I trust God. But I still have a thorn. I still have something that is supposedly against the word, that is against society, and that I'm not supposed to be doing, that I struggle with. And I love God. And I believe that he loves me. I feel wholeheartedly that he has proven, just the fact that I'm here today when he could have taken me out so many times, that he has proven his love for me, which has caused me to draw back in a lot of ways from things that are sinful, that I would do, that I would have done in past times, that I just don't do anymore. I don't have a taste for it. I don't have a desire. I can do it. My body works to go and do it. Thank God for that. It still works. Everything works to go and do, but it's just the desire, and honestly, the fact that God has kept the opportunities away. Those that I'm attracted to just seem not to be attracted to me, which is to me uh, uh, what do you call a hedge of protection around me. Because if the ones I was attracted to, and I'm looking at, oh, what should I say? What can I do? If they were thinking the same thing and approached me, well, then I probably would be one of those fighting for gay marriage, because I now understand why they are fighting for that. I understand what people are saying in the church, and that the biblical model of marriage is a man and a woman. But when you come down to it, the thing that they're fighting for, and you see this and you hear this, is a guy who lives with another guy who is not married. When he passes, the guy who he's been living with, who he shares all of these things with, has no right to anything that pertain to his lover, his mate, his lifelong partner, when it's all said and done. And so having that marriage license says, I am the one that he was in love with. I am the one that he trusted to handle these life matters. And I get it. I know someone will see this and have something to say. And guess what? I invite you to be a guest on the Jay Bass Today Show. You are welcome to come on. I would love to hear from you. I've heard all kinds of thoughts. Most likely you will not say anything that I've not heard before. And so we'll just have dialogue and share our different opinions on what has been said here. But I'm sharing again from what I've experienced and the journey to this moment. And so that's really the end of the episode, and my thoughts on what it means to have Pride Month. Reading those things from Google did make a difference, because there is a fight for people to live authentically. And it's sad that there has to be, because it shouldn't, of course, if it's someone who's messing with your child, yes, that is your business. That is something that you should be involved in. Those kind of things. There are certain things that I do believe that people should have something to say about and have a voice in. But what I am doing behind closed doors, who I am choosing to love, it just shouldn't bother you. I do know guys who struggle with let's see, it's a word exactly for what it is. A public display of affection. They do not like PDA with the same gender, because of the level of hatred. And then I've seen conversations about that in same gender loving groups and things, where one believes in PDA, and their mate doesn't, and that causes a rift because the one who believes in it wants to be able to hold hands or kiss in public or hug and hold one another in public. And the other is like, no, we can't do that. I'm not comfortable doing that because of how I was raised, where I was raised, what I have seen, what I have heard. I am not comfortable doing that. I will love you behind closed doors. I love you in public, but I just don't want to have PDA. And so that causes a rift. It's so many levels to this and so many things that people are struggling with on a daily basis to live authentically. So it's not, what I grasp from what I've read on Google as it relates to pride, that it's not a pride in I'm proud to be gay. I don't think I just can't see anybody really, really, really wholeheartedly saying that because I do believe thinking about X-Men and all those kind of things where the storyline kind of seems like it's saying something broader that I there were mutants who struggled with being mutant and wanted to just be a normal human. And the other mutants that were proud to be mutants and glad to have these superhuman powers were looked down on them because they didn't want they didn't want to be a mutant and have to suffer all of the hatred that mutants were going through. And while that is fiction, this is reality. And there are those of us who just would rather that God would deliver us, that we're able to go and live a happy heterosexual life, have children, have this wonderful family that is accepted by society at large. But it's just what our lives have led us to. And another thing that keeps coming up is this concept of, are you born this way, or is this something that you choose to do along the way? All I can say in the experience of Jabez is, from as far back as I can remember, as far back, even young, I have been attracted to the same sex. I don't remember, there were times that I would look at females and try to, just the naked body would turn me on. But as I grew older, I realized I'm looking at it's a man and a woman naked, but I'm looking at the man and his anatomy more than I'm looking at her. I see her, but I'm looking at him. You get what I'm saying? My focus is on him. I see her. She's there. I recognize she's there. I acknowledge she's there. I acknowledge she's naked. But what I see is him, and I'm focused on him. And again, I understand there will be those of you, I may not be able to come to your church because of these things. I get it. I understand. And I get it. I won't ever talk about these things in your church unless we're having this kind of dialogue. And there's a reason this is the reason you brought me in, is to have this dialogue, not to tear me down. You're not going to do that, but to really have wholehearted dialogue, because I've torn myself down enough about it. I have. And this is where I've arrived, is as far back as I can remember. And as I grew older, I realized that it was something that was socially not acceptable. And so again, there you go, crying out to God and asking him for deliverance, and having to ultimately accept that his grace is sufficient. And so because this is my Pride Month episode, to really just kind of talk about some of these things from the Jabez point of view, then I want to encourage someone who may see this, who is struggling. You're in the struggle, you're in your adolescent years, your teen years, your young adult years, and you may be one of those who are raised in the church and you're struggling to come to terms with who you are. First thing I would tell you is, again, this is a journey. You're not going to have all the answers. I still don't have all the answers, even now. I've just arrived at this place. This is where I am now in my process, in my journey. It's a journey. You won't get it all. You won't fully understand yourself and all those kind of things right away. What you are feeling is legitimate. Whatever that feeling is, whatever your thoughts are, they are legitimate to you. They are real to you. And so do not minimize the fact that those thoughts are real to you. If you believe in God, which I don't understand how people go through life and don't, although again, when you cried out and he doesn't answer, I do understand how people can be turned away. Just can. You just really have to be drawn in and trust him that he has a purpose in all of this. And so that would be my next thing, is that there's a reason that you have the feelings and the thoughts that you do. That's you. That's you. And you've got to be able to learn to accept you as you. No, there are things that you do not have to act on. There are things that you just don't have to do. You don't. You can have all the thoughts, you can have all the feelings, but some of the testimony that I have, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And if you can save yourself from having such embarrassment and shame that you have to grow past, that you have to understand was just part of what you passed through and something that you have overcome and have to grow to be thankful that you've overcome. If I can help save you from going through that, yeah, it's one thing to have the thoughts. It's one thing to have the feelings. It is totally different to act on it. And so I encourage you, do what you have to do to love and accept you. Whatever that means, if you've got to get away from those who are hateful to you because you may be a more flamboyant, or they feel like they can tell you're gay and so they're treating you differently. If and when you can get away, get away. That's my encouragement, because there are those who will love you. And I will be honest, my family, there are those I know in the family who still, I feel like, may have cut me off or whatever. But there are also those that I'm thinking, because I've heard certain things, that they feel a certain way against me or towards me, and that they don't accept me, that they don't love me. And so I'm acting differently. I'm treating them differently. I'm moving differently around them. I'm trying to stay away from them and kind of things like that. And all along, once I actually have a conversation with them and we have a dialogue about this, come to find out they've known and they love me for me. Whether they accept it or not, they love me and understand that that's part of me, and that's not something that's going to disqualify me from their love. And so you want to know who loves you for you. Now, and that's why I question, why is it necessary to come out of the proverbial closet? Why is it necessary for people to know you in that way, to know what you like in your bedroom? And I get it now. I get it too. It's not something I just think is totally necessary, but I get it, because you want to know I want to know, if you know this about me, what are you going to do? How are you going to move? What are you going to say? Because there are those who lie in your face and act as if they're okay, but then behind your back, they're saying something different. They feel a different way. And oftentimes you can tell that. And so I want to know, if you know this about me, then what are your thoughts? So I can know how to operate around you. It's not going to change my love for you. I just get that you don't understand, and that's your point of view. we've got to learn acceptance for one another. Everybody does not have the same point of view. We were not raised the same. There are people, quote unquote, in this lifestyle who are miles and years ahead of me in their process in how they accept this. They've, quote unquote, been able to do their work. Some of us didn't have the tools. We're having to come into this acceptance and learning on our own and surmising what we will do and how we will operate in this lifestyle on our own. We don't have mentors and things who are real with us and talk to us about these things, or have the connections or what resource or whatever to really understand who we are. And we have to just learn and grow and adapt. And there are those who are older than me who have not even gotten to this part of their journey of recognizing and accepting the grace. They're still filled with hatred with themselves, and you can tell. But that's life. Each of us has our own journey. Each of us has our own process. And so, when you talk about the ability to live authentically as you, I feel like that's the same thing in the church. Not everybody is on the same plane. You may have been touched. You've seen Jesus physically yourself. He has revealed himself to you. You've been to the place that John was called to, and you've had this revelation, and you are just holier than thou, and he really has sanctified and made you righteous. Everybody is not there. All of us are not there in our journey. He's processing some of us slower than you. And you've got to be able to accept that. And we've got to be able to accept that for ourselves, that we are in the process, and our process is not on the same time schedule as others. It's going to take some time for you to grow and to mature and to come into your own. I'm just getting there. I'm not even fully there, but I'm further and much further along now than I've ever been. And so, yes, there are things I do not accept now. I just don't. I'm not going to sit around while you bash. I'm just not. I will speak up and say something. Unless I'm outnumbered, then I'm just going to remove myself, because then what I realize is I'm in the wrong space. It's not y'all. Y'all all agree and believe I'm in the wrong space, because obviously we do not agree. And if your hatred gets to the point where you feel like you need to be verbally assaulting, it's not the right atmosphere for me. And so thankfully, I know how to remove myself and be somewhere else. You don't have to see me. We don't have to deal with one another. It just is what it is. And that's life. It is. Those of you who are sitting in those bashing situations, those of you who are younger, I continually pray for you, because I know how that feels, to feel like you have to stay. And I've even known those who run away early. And I don't necessarily recommend it, but I do understand it. I do understand, because it's a hard life. But thank God that if he's with you and he's for you, you'll make it through. That's period and point blank. Some things I thought I was going through that was it. That was it. And it, I think part of I saw a sign in Oklahoma that really got me. I don't exactly remember, but basically what they were saying, if you're gay, you have AIDS or HIV. And the fact that that is now part of my life story, I realized it happened because of those low self-esteem times, those times where I hated myself. So I'm just like, it's whatever. I care, but I don't care. I'm saying I don't care, even though I do care. I want to be delivered. I want some help, and I'm crying out for help, and I'm not getting help. And it's interesting to say that, because those that are talking about you and dogging you out for what you feel on the inside and what you're attracted to, they're unable to help you. They cannot provide any help, so all they can do is talk. Because I want to know what your help is. What do you say? What do you help? Because those of us who are crying out for help, we're left alone to our own vices, and there's no one to help. So where's the help? Where is the help? If you feel so adamantly about this, what are your recommended solutions of help? What do you do? And so it's so much to this, but these are just the surface and kind of diving somewhat into my thoughts on Pride Month, that there are people of all nationalities, cultures, livelihoods, whatever you want to call it, that have made contributions to society that all of us benefit from now. And what the color of their skin didn't matter. Who they slept with behind closed doors didn't matter. What mattered was how they utilized their minds to bring forth the dreams and the concepts and the vision that they had within themselves. And thankfully, they didn't allow the hatred of others and even sometimes the self-hatred within themselves to keep them from sharing with the world the beautiful gifts that are on the inside. So that's my final encouragement. Continue to share your beautiful gifts. There is something beautiful, creative, and wonderful in each and every one of us. Every last one of us has something to contribute to society that is something to make all of us better. Use it, utilize it, put it to use, no matter what is said or done, how you're made to feel, put it to use, put it to use. It's there in spite of everything else, and it deserves a voice too. God bless you all. Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of the Jay Bass Today Show. I would love to hear from you on this topic and so many of the other topics that I've been able to talk about in this show, as we are now at the 33rd episode. I believe this is 33. It could be 34. But anyway, I think it's 33. And so anyway, this is the last episode of June 2024, and I'm just grateful to have had this opportunity to share with you. I do pray that you have been blessed and that you have been encouraged, and something has been said to open your eyes in a different way, your understanding in a different way, after hearing my meager thoughts here on the Jay Bass Today Show. God bless.
It's the Jay Bass Today Show. And if you change your attitude, you can change your life. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I found out. Now I'm telling you.